All right, so hey, blue hair guy, do me a favor. Don't talk during my lecture. Thank you. Um, all right, so let's go ahead and get started here. First and foremost, we're going to need to open two programs. One of them is going to be the Unreal Engine, like we always do, and then this time we're also going to open up Maya 2019. Like seriously, who comes in with the flu? Like really?
I'd understand.
That's like basically coronavirus.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's similar death toll counts.
What?
Yeah, because the coronavirus actually isn't killing that many people other than the elderly and the young because they have compromised immune systems. So it's more kind of just like a stronger flu.
Actually, I heard it was less powerful than the flu.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. I read that actually. All right, so we're opening up Maya, and we're opening up the Epic Games launcher, like we normally do. Free Farming Simulator 19. Are you kidding me?
What? It was free last time,
That was
too.
free last time.
We already got it.
If you guys don't get the Farming Simulator,
Too late. It's in my library.
shame on you. Shame, sir. All right. So let's go ahead and launch a project. There's another student with a mask. What the heck, man? How did everybody get sick over the weekend? What happened this weekend? Was it Super Bowl? The rain is supposed to be good. The rain gets everything out of the air and pushes it to the ground.
Plus it's acid rain.
There's, what?
I usually have worse allergies on rainy days.
You mean zombie rain? Did you guys ever see the original, was it Night of the Living Dead? Or no, Return of the Living Dead, old zombie movie?
I've created a masterpiece.
It was pretty cool.
That's
like,
what started it all.
huh?
That's what started it all.
That's what started it all.
Because before that, it was just legends and myths about voodoo to make undead slaves. But after Night of the Living Dead, we started looking at zombies in a completely different way.
You know way too much about zombie stuff, sir.
I learned about the same stuff.
Let me tell you something. I have
Oh,
a
God.
wide range of knowledge for some reason. I don't know what about most.
Okay.
Gross knowledge, if you ask me.
Yes, cursed knowledge.
My masterpieces.
I completely agree with that. Cursed knowledge.
Why is this a thing? I thought I was just drawing in Maya, but if you right click on Maya, you can draw. But for some reason, you can take it outside the window.
All right. Let's do a third person again. And this one I want you to name art test. And go ahead and put it in your project on the D drive. I mean, sorry, your folder on the D drive. Call it art test. Put it in your folder on the D drive. Again, third person. Make sure you're in Blueprint, not C++. And create the project. I'm sorry, did I tell you guys to launch a new project? Yeah, I did.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you make a project that is like Blueprint and it works with blueprints, but also includes C++ scripts in it?
Yes.
All right.
I think, yes, you can do that. I think it's actually this one, the one that you create the Blueprint project and then you can add C++ to it. But I think if you do the C++ one, it's only C++. Good news, it's Dry Clean Tuesday. That means it's dollar shirts at the super cleaners. Yeah. All right. Next, let's launch an internet browser. Let's call it Chrome. And just go to Google for now. You guys can handle that, right? Alright, so say I'm an artist on this team and we need some stuff, okay? So whatever our game design calls for, somebody comes up with, I don't know, let's say a weapon. Let's say we need some specific weapon. Like,
A scythe.
A good old Kalishnikov.
I like scythes.
you know what? Kalishnikov is actually not a bad idea.
What's a Kalishnikov?
AK.
Oh.
I know I spelled that wrong, but...
Kalishnikov.
yeah, Kalishnikov is a, how many of you guys have seen the movie Lord of War? Nobody? Come on, y'all. So go ahead and try and spell Kalishnikov. It's K-A-L-A-H-N-I-K-O-V. Google will respell it for you if you get somewhat close. And then just type in Kalishnikov 3D model. There's probably 8 billion of these 3D models online.
Sorry.
So it looks like there's one. It looks like it shows all the sites that these are on here. One of them is called Free 3D, which is pretty cool. So that's a site that I know. So when you search on Google and you look at images, it shows you these different models, and you can look at them, and you can see what sites they're on. And I just did Kalishnikov 3D model. Free is also good. And we're looking for one that like looks kind of next gen, you know?
The
Because
CG trader looks pretty good.
where's that one at?
It's the like top left.
We're looking for one that's gonna have like a lot of maps. Like this one looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and go to free3d.com. This is a site where they have a lot of stuff. No textures, huh? Okay, well this one's cool. It says it has textures. Let's go ahead and go with this. Oh, it's $9. Dang it.
Wow.
The one to
what
the
a
left
lie.
of that is pretty good. That one.
No
Oh, it doesn't
textures.
have textures.
We really want something that's got some textures.
I thought it was free 3D. Why is it $9?
That was an ad.
It's full of software.
That's how they get you. You gotta be slick. This one looks. Dang it. How do I switch to view just free? I always click on the cool stuff. And
Doesn't look like
Maybe Unreal has like a free gun pack.
Alright, let's check that out. It's not a bad idea. I mean, I actually have some weapons, but so let's jump on the marketplace and look. That's the thing, is that sometimes, like, you look in one place and you might not find, you know, everything that you're looking for.
Last month in Unreal, they had, let me see if I can find it. They had free FPS weapon bundle, and they've got some military weapons at like the last page.
Got it.
Stuff.
There's one called free or first person weapon bundle that's pretty good.
Where-
There's a FPS weapon bundle for free.
Where's that at? What's it called?
FPS weapon bundle.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Alright, everybody get that. Definitely get that. And then go ahead and add that to your project. Should be called art test. So open up Unreal Marketplace, let's do a search for FPS weapon bundle, and then add it to your art test project. I still want us to get something offline, because I want to show you guys how to pull models offline. I just want something that is going to have some textures on it, and this one looks pretty good.
Oh man, they even have skeletons for like animation.
Yeah, they got all kinds of stuff.
So do we get that one too?
Let me check it real quick. You can download it if you want. Not gonna stop you.
Thorn hammer. Yeah.
Where do we download it to?
You can just download it to your downloads directory for now.
What type of file do we?
There's an MA file, which is a Maya file. And then there's the textures file. So this one is called 45 ACP Smith & Wesson 3D model. Go ahead and download that one. It looks like it's got a lot of textures and stuff. Yep, and you want to get the MA file and the textures file. So you have to download the Maya file, and then they have a separate textures file. It's on free3d.com. Look up at the screen. Are you sick too, or is that just allergies?
That's allergies. Do we get 32 ones?
Say that again.
Do we get 32 ones or which one?
I can't hear you. One more time.
Which of these files do we get?
You get the MA file and you get the texture file.
Both files. Can you download?
Alright, I have both of those. Yeah.
So when you download those files, download them to your downloads directory. and then you're going to extract each one. They're zip files, so right click on them, extract here into their separate directories. And I have the separate directories up here. Here are the textures, and then here are the actual the Maya files. You can just open up a file folder thingy on your desktop, My Computer, or computer, and then you just click on Downloads on the left. Make sure to extract these files when you download them. So we downloaded two files. One is the Maya files, MA, and the other one is the textures. There should be like a texture pack that's in there. When you download them to your downloads directory. Then you're going to right click on them and extract the files. When you extract the files, they're going to extract to separate folders. One of them is going to have the textures in it, and one of them is going to have the Maya files and look like this. For you pros who've already beat me to it, you can go ahead and open up that handgun.ascii.ma in Maya. Go open up Maya, go to File, Open. Right click on it. Should be in a 7-zip extract.
It's not giving me the option to open it in Maya.
Yeah, you in Maya, when you open it, you have to go to File, Open Scene.
Yeah, now you have to go to open scene. You can't import it.
Yeah, no import. I'm actually glad we did a third-person project. And I'll show you why.
Go to Maya, file. The file handgun We just saved an empty scene. That's because you moved the save things. Get out of that. Cancel. Now go back to the thing.
Guys, make sure to help each other. The person sitting to your right and left, or your buddy. Help, 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 help.
I picked open scene.
How do you navigate?
How many people have the gun open in Maya? Getting there? Who are we still waiting on? All right. All right, so the big thing is to make sure that when you download these files, as you can see, they come in as .zip files, okay? And when they come in as .zip files, that means they need to be unzipped. They come in as files with a little zipper on them, right? So you right-click on those, extract all. Very important to extract. If you don't extract, you can't open it. You have to extract it. Yes?
Are we opening the MA or the MB?
MA. It really doesn't matter. The difference between MA and MB is the MA file is what's called an ASCII file, which means you can actually like open it up as like a text file and see all the commands and stuff. The binary file, but it's a little bit bigger in size. The binary file is like all garbled code and stuff, but it's compressed for you tech people. All right, we got this gun open, right? Who needs help? Anybody? Can someone help her? Anybody else need help? If you see someone with their hand raised, help them.
You already have that extracted, so extract that now. Now once it's started.
What are the navigation commands?
Yeah. So in Maya, if you hold Alt on your keyboard and use the 3 mouse buttons, it'll help you move around in 3D space. All right. Yeah, so in Maya, if you hold Alt on the keyboard and use the 3 different mouse buttons, it'll allow you to move around in 3D space. You can even use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. So get comfortable in Maya because we're going to be flying around. Everybody got the gun open? Are we waiting on anybody? All right, cool. All right, so in Maya, go ahead and tap 4, 5, and 6. So number 4 is wireframe, okay? And as you can see, there's a clip in there, which is kind of cool. 5 is flat shade mode, where there's no textures. And then 6 is textured mode. But we got a problem. No textures. And it looks like you got 3 models in the scene. You've got a gun, a clip. It looks like this is some sort of a tracer. And then you have a bullet. See a hand up in the front.
When I try to do the move thing, it says orthographic views are currently locked. Are you holding Alt?
Okay. Go to panels. Actually, don't go to panels. On the left-hand side over here, click the this top panel layout, which is perspective view. Did that work for you? You with me? Did that work? Yeah. Okay. Another thing you can do, which he probably did, is tap your space bar. That's odd. Okay, don't tap your space bar. Where I was pointing for him, on the left-hand side, you can switch your view to the orthographic views, which are the 4 view here. Front, side, top. And in these views you can move around limited. They are technically 3D views, because you're looking at a 3D model, but they're from a camera that's from a certain axis. Then you have your perspective up here. You can just click in any one of those views and tap your space bar, and it will make that view full screen. But for now, let's work in perspective, which is the 3D view, the big one at the top. Alright, so we got no textures. We got to make that happen. The good news is we downloaded textures. They are in this directory here, which hopefully you guys have all extracted. Right click, 7-zip, extract. No, just that's fine too. Alright, so if you're opening a file in Maya and the textures aren't in the same directory, Maya's not going to know where they're at. So if you want to skip to the chase always, just put your textures in the same directory as where the model is, and Maya will find them. But in the case that you don't, there's a cool little tool that we can use to help track down the textures and automatically remap them to the missing locations. Go to Windows, I believe it's General Editors, File Path Editor. Windows General Editors File Path Editor. And what this has done is it's looked through the scene and it's seen all the external files that are connected to Maya. And right now, you can see that it's missing some stuff. Red X's are usually bad. It's missing handgunc.jpg and handgunfire.png. So go ahead and just click on all of them here so they're all selected in blue. And then just go to Repath Files. Then go to Browse and then track down where you put the textures for the gun that you downloaded. So I'm just going to click on Student Downloads. Set that directory and click Repath. And then if you click, they become green, you can close out of this window, tap 6 on your keyboard, and you should see textures.
Try moving the pictures of textures over to the desktop. Okay, so it's only download.
This won't work if your textures were never unzipped. You have to unzip the textures. All right. Everybody here? Everybody got a textured handgun? Sweet. All right, so there's a couple things in the scene we're not going to need. One is this tracer. So go ahead and drag a box over that, then tap delete on your keyboard. Goodbye. We're not going to need this bullet, so we can delete that. We will, however, need the handgun. So, I don't know how big this handgun is in comparison. So let's go ahead and just export it. Let's go to File, Export All. And this one you can just throw on your desktop and change the file of type at the bottom to FBX. Scroll down.
FBX or
FBX. So File, Export All, where it says Files of Type at the bottom, change that to FBX. You have to scroll down to get to it. Alright, now we're going to change some settings on the right side here. Okay, a couple easy settings. The first one is under Geometry. Make sure you turn on Smoothing Groups. Alright, we can leave everything else on except for Embed Media we need to turn on as well. And what Embed Media does is it takes those textures and it embeds them in the FBX file. So we only need to deal with just one file, not the gun file and its textures. So we're going to call this, what kind of gun is this?
It's a 45 ACP, 1911.
Okay, so let's just call it 45, what'd you say, ACP?
Yeah.
Just call it 45 ACP. And then go ahead and export all. And let's jump into Unreal. And under Content, I want you to make a new folder. So click on Content, then right-click anywhere, New Folder. And we're going to call this Weapons. And inside of Weapons, make a new folder and call this 45 ACP. You always want to stay organized. So when you're working on a game as a team, the reason I say you want to stay organized is because at some point somebody else is going to have to try and track down, you know, whatever file you were working on. You're not going to be working in a bubble. And so if you're organized, somebody can go ahead and find it without having to track you down just to track down a file. Alright, I want you to go ahead and import that weapon into the 45AC file. So click Import. Go ahead and track down the weapon, open all, and just click Import All. Alright, so right now what we're going to try and do, we're going to put the gun in this guy's hands. There's a couple more steps we need to do before we do that. But right now I just want to get a good sense of scale to make sure we're in the right place. So you'll see 45 ACP gun here. Go ahead and just drag and drop that into the scene. And oh my god.
Oh, it's missing.
Like, it's so big he could ride it like a horse.
Yes.
also missing a piece.
Make him ride it like a horse.
That's a big
That's what I'm doing. Ride him cowboy. Okay. So we got a couple problems here. First and foremost, the gun is missing parts. Well, it's really not missing parts. What happened is the exporter has exported all the objects that were in the scene as separate objects. Okay? It has exported all the objects in the scene as separate objects. The thing is that if we want to attach this gun to the character, it can't be just an object. It needs to be a skinned object. It needs to have an actual skeleton, because Unreal uses bones to connect characters together. That makes sense. So we got two problems here. All right. One, it's too big, and two, we need to skin it. So let's jump back into Maya. All right. And I'm just going to click on the object here in Unreal and just scale it down just real quick, just to kind of see how far I can scale it down to have it actually kind of sort of make sense. That's still a little big. So let's go with 0.15, 0.15. That's still kind of small. What do you think? Does that look okay, or a little bit bigger?
I would say, bump it up to
Point 2? Okay. So we've scaled it down 0.2. Okay. You see where I'm at here? I just have moved it, rotated it, and scaled it down in 0.2 just to kind of see, you know. So what that does is it's given me a guide for how much I need to scale it in Maya. Okay, and as you can see in Maya, when you select the gun, on the right hand side you have an XYZ scale. And what we're going to do is we're going to group this weapon and we're going to scale it down in Maya to match the scale in Unreal. But we need to group it first. So before we do anything in Maya, let's go ahead and I want you guys to get a visual representation of grouping and how all this works. So go to Windows, General Editors, Hypergraph Hierarchy. What's up, Raphael?
Chris.
Windows, General Editors, Hypergraph Hierarchy.
Want to see what's up?
Cool. Alright, and so what this does is this shows you a visual indicator of the hierarchy in this scene. What is a child? What is a parent of each other, right? And right now it looks like we've got this cube here, which looks like it's actually the clip. So you can right click on that, rename it to clip. Then we have gun, which is the full piece. We've got another cube, which is the, what do you call that part on it?
upper receiver.
Slide?
Or upper either way.
Let's call it slide. That's easier. Rename that one to slide. And then below it, we've got the trigger, which is fine. So the only issue I have right now is that the clip is separate. What we want to do is put the clip underneath the gun like everything else is. So when we move the gun, it also moves the clip. So the way you can do that is you can literally just middle mouse drag that underneath the gun. So middle mouse drag it underneath the gun. Onto gun. So middle mouse drag it onto gun. Yeah, middle mouse drag it. So it's very simple. You select it first, then with your middle mouse button, click and hold, drag under the gun, and it becomes a parent of the gun, a child of the gun. No, you look. Watch up here, guys. Watch up here. Look, it's very, very simple. You click clip, make sure it's selected. Click and hold with your middle mouse button. Drag it to the word gun. Okay. Alright, so now when we select gun, it selects the whole thing, which is awesome. So we can come over here now with gun selected to scale and change that scale from 100 to so make sure you have gun selected, not any of the other ones. Just select gun. It's going to scale everything because all the other parts are a child of gun now. They're all parented to gun. So we just need to select the gun. Then on the right hand side where it says channels, you see scale XYZ. Change that to 0.2. Enter. For scale XYZ, change it to 0.2. If you don't see this over here, hit Control A.
We're scaling it to 0.2 for all of it.
Yeah, 0.2.
Oh, there's a girl I'm familiar with.
Yeah, it's pretty small. So let's triple check that this works. Go ahead and go to File, Export All, and just export it over that FBX that you've exported before. The settings should be the same. In Unreal, you can just delete these files and just re-import it. Then drag it into the scene and see if it worked. What the? Yeah, that was way too small. And I kind of thought that that might be the case. It should be 20, my bad. Sorry, y'all. 20, not 0.2. Yes. Yeah. See what happens when you're not careful? I see a hand up in the front. What's up?
Yeah, it seems to have, like, stretched its gun, and it's, like, nothing wide, and, like, the size of a skyscraper.
Somebody help him. So 20 was what we wanted.
Whoops, hold up.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, God, why'd you do?
Oh, you're supposed to only do gun.
Why is that slow?
I don't know. Click off.
Control Z, man.
There you go.
Yeah, Control Z is undo in Maya. Got it. Good job, team.
Yeah. This is tiny.
All right. So 20 worked, not 0.2. That was way too small. So this is just a test. We're not going to use this gun in the scene, so you can delete those files. In Maya, we need to add a couple bones in here. Okay?
My hierarchy window, like, did disappear.
Don't sweat it. We're not going to need hierarchy. Alright, so in Maya, I want you to go to the Rigging tab. Are you lost?
Yeah, and
What?
the person next to me is lost too.
Well, what?
Wait, I'm not lost. What?
What's up?
Look, guys. All we're here. We've just got this gun, and we've scaled it
To 20.
to 20. That's it. Don't worry about anything else. As long as you got the gun scaled to 20, you're in good shape. Now, everybody go to Maya, please. We don't need to be in Unreal right now. Alright, click on the Rigging tab here. Click on the Rigging tab. we need to give this thing a bone. Okay, and we're going to put the bone at the center of the grid here, all right, or a joint. So the second icon over is called Create Joints. So click that one time. Then it's a little crosshairs is going to come up. I want you to just click anywhere on the grid and tap Enter. And that's created a joint, okay? And similar to how we changed the scale XYZ of the gun, we're going to change the translate XYZ to 0. And what that's going to do is going to move it to the center of the grid. Now luckily this gun is already on the center of the grid, which is good. I'm going to redo that step just to make sure everybody got it. So I'm looking at the grid here in Maya. I'm seeing the center. There's a joint tool under the rigging tab. I'm going to click that joint tool one time. It's going to create a crosshairs for me. Then I just click anywhere on the grid and click Enter. That will create a joint. Now once I create a joint, on the right hand side, under Channels, you have Translate XYZ. You want to change all three of those to 0. That's going to move the joint to the center of the grid. Alright. Now that joint, I want to call that root. So in the upper right hand side of the screen, you can see where it says joint 1 when you have the joint selected. You want to rename that to root, R-O-O-T. Alright, now what we're going to do is I want to make sure, if you have an object that has different moving parts, you need to give it multiple joints. So that trigger's going to move. So what I want you to do is duplicate this joint and then move the duplicate up and over to the center of the trigger and then name that joint trigger. Okay? The way to do that is pretty easy. You can just click that joint and go to Edit, Duplicate, Edit, Duplicate, then tap W to move on your keyboard, move it up and over into the center of the trigger. Then you want to rename it Trigger. Alright, so edit, duplicate the joint, tap W to move and move it up and over, and rename it to Trigger. So we're just duplicating the joint, moving it up and over, and renaming it to Trigger. Alright, let's open up our hypergraph hierarchy again. Windows, General Editors, Hypergraph Hierarchy. Windows, General Editors, Hypergraph Hierarchy.
Yeah, mine still doesn't show anything.
Select any object and tap F in your hypergraph hierarchy. So like, you'll need to activate, there you go. Yeah, if for whatever reason when you load into the hypergraph hierarchy, if objects are out of the view, you can just click on any object in the scene, activate your window in the hypergraph hierarchy, and tap F, and it will zoom to all your objects. It will also do that in Maya. If I'm way out here or something, I can select any object in the hypergraph hierarchy, and in Maya tap F, and it will zoom to the object. Alright, so looking at our scene here, we have the gun, which is all of its parts connected, and then we have root and trigger. Okay, similar to how we moved the clip under the gun, I want you to move the trigger under the root. So we want the trigger to become a parent of the root. I'm sorry, we want the root to become a parent of the trigger. And we are in the hypergraph hierarchy window. So Windows General Editor's hypergraph hierarchy. If you guys get lost or something, make sure you let somebody know that you're lost and you need help. We don't want you getting far behind, because it takes a long time to get you caught up. Okay? Click Control A. You always want to make sure when you're working in Maya that you have it in as your full screen mode, so it scales across your full screen, so you have access to view all the options. Okay. All right, so we need to skin this gun to the bones. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. I want you to select the gun, then shift select root, then let's see, where's skin? Oh. In the upper left, there's a drop down, and it says modeling. Change that to rigging. In the upper left, there's a drop down. It says modeling. Change that to rigging. So now you'll see skin at the top. So again, we've got the gun selected, and then hold shift and select the root, or you can just drag select them both. So we want the bone selected and the gun selected, and go to skin, bind skin. Skin, bind skin. I'll go over this step again, okay? In the upper left, you're going to see a drop down. Right now it's set to modeling. Change that to rigging. Then select the gun and the root. And you're going to go to skin, bind skin.
Mine returned an error. It says the magazine is already connected to skin press.
The clip is already connected to Steam.
Well, I named it magazine.
You only select gun and root, right?
Yeah, gun and root. Skin, bind skin, error.
How many times did you? Well, that's because you've skinned it a bunch of All right, I'll do that one more time so we make sure we all got it, okay? Upper left, there's a drop down. Change that from modeling to rigging. You can just literally just drag a box over the gun and the root, and then go to skin, bind skin. And when you do that, when you move the bone, it moves the gun now. Okay, that's when you know it worked. So click the bone, tap W, move it around, then click Control Z. Okay? Now grab the trigger and bone and move the trigger bone. Oh my God. What happened? So now all the objects are attached to bones, okay? When you skin something, it's attached to bones. So for example, if like you had a hand and you put a bunch of finger bones in there, it's gonna move the fingers, right? So it's when you skin something and have multiple bones, Maya makes assumptions on what, you know, you're supposed to what's supposed to go to what bone. And unfortunately, Maya has made some pretty bad assumptions here. So what we need to do is tell Maya which stuff goes to which bones, okay? So tap 5 on your keyboard to go into smooth shade mode. Now go ahead and click the gun, the whole gun. And under the rigging tab, there's an icon called Paint Skin Weights tool. And that is like, it looks like a grid with like a paintbrush right here. And double click that. Double click the Paint Skin Weights tool. Alright, so when the Paint Skin Weights tool pops up, what we're looking at here is all of the white means that you can see your two bones here. You see root and trigger. And when you click on each one of them, you can see root is kind of almost grayish white, and then trigger is got some problems. But so dark is not influenced, white is completely influenced, okay? So let's go ahead and make sure, I want to flood all of the weights right now for the entire gun onto the root. So click on root, scroll down, and click flood. So click on root, scroll down, and click the flood button. And what that's done is it's put 100% of the weights for the root onto the gun, the whole gun. Now if you click trigger, it's become completely black, which is what we want. So right now that trigger bone influences nothing. Okay, so go ahead and turn off your Paint Skin Weights tool, click that away. Then click the arrow in the upper left. Now I want you to select the trigger bone again and try and move that around. And what happens?
Does nothing.
Doesn't do anything. Exactly. So let's make it do something. So I want you to select the trigger object now. Just select the trigger object. Then double click your Paint Skin Weights tool again. This time we're going to click on trigger, and we're going to flood the weights to trigger. So click the trigger bone and then flood the weights to trigger. So now when we click off our Paint Skin Weights tool, click the arrow and move the trigger bone, the trigger will now move. So technically in Maya we could like animate that and then export an animation into Unreal of the trigger moving, and it would like move. Alright? And I guess we could go ahead and do that. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So we've done some animation stuff in here before, right? A little bit. All right. Let's change the animation frames at the bottom from 200 to 10. So 0 to 10. Okay? Or it's 1 to 10, which is fine. So select that trigger bone and set a keyframe on 1 by tapping S. Now move to frame 10, click S again, and then move to frame 6, tap W, and I want you to move the trigger back as if somebody pulled the trigger and tap S. Now when you slide across the timeline, the trigger gets shot. I'll go over that again. So on frame 1, select the trigger bone, tap S. Move to frame 10, tap S again to set a keyframe. Then move to frame 6, and you're going to slide the trigger back to shooting position, and then tap S again. Now when you slide across the timeline, it shoots. Everybody please catch up.
Hayden's isn't putting keyframes on.
Make sure you have the bone selected. Nice. All right. All right, everybody with me? Everybody got a fire animation going on here? All right, now let's export. Let's export this this gun. So go to File, Export All, and this time we're going to change the settings under Animation, and you're going to turn on a setting called Bake Animation. Turn on a setting called Bake Animation. And you should see your frames below 1 and 10. Select the 45AC P and export all. It's going to ask you if you want to replace it. Go ahead. Now in Unreal, make sure you delete all the files out of the 45ACP folder. Drag a box, select them all. Delete. Then re-import all the gun. Re-import all the gun. So select the gun, open, import all. I got good news and bad news. What do you want first? Bad news? Good news is gun came in just fine, looking like it's the right scale. So that's the good news. Bad news is no animation. Where's the damn animation? Alright, so we need to do something a little bit different with the exporter to get the animation in. So click on import, click the file again, what the heck? Actually, make a new folder, call it animation. Yeah, in the gun folder. Inside that folder, click import. Select your file again, and we're going to change some settings in the importer to get that animation file. So this time you're going to uncheck skeletal mesh. I'm sorry, you're going to uncheck import mesh. And when you turn off the import mesh option, you should see there's a drop down under skeleton. Change that to 45 ACP skeleton. And so what this is looking for is animation. And we're telling it to put the animation on that skeleton. And then once you're done, go ahead and click import. I'm gonna go over that again. Alright, so we have a folder in under 45 ACP which we've imported our new files, yeah? Everybody with me on that? Make a new folder, call it animation inside that folder. Alright? Now inside the animation folder, click import again, select the file. Now in the settings, you'll see where it says import mesh at the top. I want you to turn that off. Now where it says there's a drop down for the skeleton, change that to 45 ACP skeleton. Then click import. It should pull in a file. When you double click that, you should have a gun that shoots. Who was able to keep up with me on that one? Okay, half of you guys. What am I doing wrong here? What's the problem? All right. Everybody has. Go into your 45 ACP folder. Okay, everybody in there? You should have 4 files. One of them's a texture, one of them's a material, one of them's a skeleton, one of them's a physics asset, one of them's a 45 ACP. To get that, here, I'll get that in here. I'm just going to delete all my files in here. So I'm going to click import, and I'm going to import the file that we exported from Maya. For this one, I'm just going to import all. And for whatever reason, it now imported the animation as well. It's just how it be sometimes. I agree. If it didn't import the animation for you, you can import the animation separately in a new animation folder by going import, selecting the file, turning off import mesh, selecting the correct skeleton, which is 45 ACP skeleton, and clicking import. Now it will pull in just the animation. Alright, does everybody have an animation? Does everybody have an object?
Yes.
Alright, I am moving on. Alright, so we want to attach this gun to the character so that when you hit play and run around, the character's got a gun in their hand. Okay? So, let's do that. Click on content and expand the show or hide sources panel on the left. So you have this split view here by clicking show or hide sources. I want you to go into the mannequin folder, and under animations, just double click any mannequin animation. Remember this, how we get in here? Edit this guy. We're mainly looking for the idle right now. So double click the idle. Alright. Now, when we attach weapons to characters, we use a skeleton. Okay? We do it by the skeleton. So click on skeleton in the upper right. Click on skeleton in the upper right. And we're going to go ahead and put the gun in his right hand. Okay? So if you look at the list of his skeleton on the left, scroll down and find the right hand, which is called hand R. It's called hand R. Okay? Now I want you to right click on hand R, and we're going to create a socket. So you'll see an option that says add socket. Okay? That's called hand R socket, which is fine. You can also rename that, and let's all do that. Rename that socket, right click on rename, and just call it like weapon. Just call it weapon is fine. Gun, weapon, whatever you want to rename it. Just remember what you named it. So again, find the right hand here, which is called hand underscore R. Right click on it, add socket, and then rename that socket to something that you will remember. Alright, now if you right click on the socket, mine's called weapon, there is a add preview asset. Add preview asset. And when you click add preview asset, you should see 45 ACP at the top. Go ahead and click that. Add preview asset. Now, what happened?
It's facing the wrong way.
Oh my god, okay. So that's easy. So what we do now is we need to move the socket and rotate the socket into place. Move and rotate the socket into place. So E is rotate, W is move. Move and rotate the socket into place so the gun matches his hand. Everybody got that? E is rotate, W is move. So we're just moving the socket, that's it. Man, we scaled that right. That's cool, that was a good guess. Well, it's actually a little big, to be honest. That's alright. You know what? Exaggerated's okay. That's a good point.
Where's this A Valve ends with 3?
Gabe Newell has trouble counting to 3.
Alright, guns close enough. Good to go here. In the upper left hand corner, click save. And now you can go back to animation on the right. And he is now idling with the gun in his hand. What? Where's the gun? Worked for me. So it's in the skeleton, it's just not in his hand? Did you click save in the upper left? Yeah, don't have multiple tabs open.
Wait, animation is being edited.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there you go.
This dude's got a gun.
This dude's got a gun and he is pointing it right at his knee.
No, not my knee. Bro, he looks like he's about to flap, you know what I'm saying?
It is in his thigh.
In his thigh.
That's on me. That's me not being.
Got it.
How I edit this thing.
Alright, now, just to make things extra cool, go back to the other tab, and we had pulled in a bunch of other weapons. FPS weapon bundle, baby.
There's a map on here too.
So go ahead and click on FPS weapon bundle, go into weapons. Let's see what else we got here. If you go into weapons and you type and you get the filters on the right and do skeletal mesh, just like how we did the meshes for the levels. You click filters, skeletal mesh. You can see all of the different gun types. And let's go ahead and take that SKAR4X and strap it to his back. And let's strap another one to his back too. What the hell? Alright. So click on third person idle again. Back into character view. And let's go back to skeleton. And this time on his spine, find a spine bone. Yeah, let's go with spine 3. Create another socket. Add preview asset. I'm sorry. Add socket. Call this one, yeah, back weapon or something. And then right click on the socket, add preview asset, and you're going to search for that gun. I like that big black one, man. That was cool. SM, I guess. Just pick any weapon. It doesn't matter. Whatever one you think is cool. And then move and rotate the socket so it's strapped onto his back.
Is there a way we're supposed to attach the gun to his hand?
Yeah, we're going to go over that later. Right now we're just moving and scaling weapons so that they're placed in the right place. And I'm crazy, so I'm going to go ahead and do another weapon. On spine 3 again, I'll create another socket. And I'm going to call that weapon back 2. And that one's going to be a different gun.
Just, let's give this guy like 7 guns.
Yeah, he's bananas. Make sure you're moving the sockets Then click Save. And you may have to close down your views. Alright, so once you got them attached, now we need to actually go, if you hit play on your game, you'll notice that there's no guns in there. So all we did was position the bones so that when we do attach them to the character, they'll be attached in the right place. But we didn't actually attach them to the character. Alright, so to do that, click on Content, and I want you to do a search for third. And you're going to open the third person character. So you're looking for the third person character file. Go ahead and open that up. Now we've gone into the third person character file before. Remember I told you this is the blueprints for all the code for the character. This is where we swapped out the character last time. Remember there's a viewport tab in the upper left. Go ahead and click that. And we have Mr. Mannequin in here. Alright, so here is the view where we're going to attach all of our guns. Okay? So, let me see if I can remember how to do this. Alright, in the upper left, there's something that's called Add Component. Okay? Let's make sure everybody gets caught up here. Who needs help? Okay, where are you at, sir?
Well, I got lost at one point.
What point are you at? Have you attached a gun? You haven't attached a gun. Okay. Huh? Alright, yeah, kick back. Alright, so we have Mannequin open here. On the upper left, you have Add Component. Click Add Component. And you're looking for Skeletal Mesh. Add Component, Skeletal Mesh. Now, over on the right-hand side, you'll see the sockets that we're looking for sockets, and we're looking for mesh. So first and foremost, we need to find the mesh. So we'll do 45 ACP. That pops in. Now we look for the socket to attach it to. And the first socket that pops up is weapon, and it goes right into place. So sockets and mesh. Select the right mesh, then select the correct socket.
It's not letting us, it's not listing up the sockets for us.
Alright, so the way you get to that, again, is on the left-hand side, make sure you have mesh selected. Select the guy. Then go to Add Component, Skeletal Mesh. Okay, hang tight. You're jumping ahead here. Alright, so select the guy, go to Add Component, Skeletal Mesh. So you're adding a skeletal mesh component into the scene under the guy. Then on the right-hand side, you should see two areas. One is called Mesh, Skeletal Mesh. The other one's called Socket. You select the gun from the Skeletal Mesh area, and then you select the correct socket by clicking the magnifying glass, and you should see the right socket. Alright? Now you can add all your other weapons the same way. Select the guy, Add Component, Skeletal Mesh. Then you can pick whatever, and then select the other socket. I had weapon back, and I'll add another component here. Make sure you're adding components on the guy, not other weapons. Anybody help him? There we go. So once these are attached, you can click compile and then hit play, and your guys should be ready for war. All right, guys, I want to go over one more thing before we leave today. So we've gotten meshes in from the web, and we've used some asset pack weapons. We've done some custom editing of guns. We've skinned them. We've made them work. And we've animated them too. I haven't even really gone over the animation stuff. But you have an animation of a trigger pulling in here now on a custom weapon that we pulled in from the web. So when we start making our game, we should have no problem getting props or anything in here, skinned, animated. This tutorial covers all that. Now, one other thing is the materials aspect. Go ahead and I want you to open up a gun from the weapon pack that we imported. So if you just click on content and then click skeletal mesh, or do a filter for skeletal mesh, and you should see all the weapons in there that we imported. Okay, just pick any weapon except for the pistol and double click it. So I'll just grab, I don't know, this looks like a Kalashnikov kind of. Alright, so just open up any weapon for now. Doesn't matter which one, double click it. Alright, now in the upper left, you should be in mesh mode here, and in the upper left you'll see in the material slots it's got two materials. Or this one has two materials. And the main material here, which is M_KA74U, it's going to be different for whatever weapon you chose. Double click the material.
Yes, the sphere of AK-47.
Now that did not do what I wanted it to do, which is weird. That's bizarre. Okay. Why did that do that? Alright, you know what? Open up the gun that we imported. These are acting kind of funny. Oh. What the heck? Okay, yeah, that's going to be way too complicated. Yeah, just open up the gun that we imported. The AC. So that is under weapons. Alright, now double click that one's texture or material, and you should see a view that works like this. You should see a view that looks like this when you double click it. Alright, so this is the material editor view, and there's multiple different channels we can plug in different material types to. You have base color, metallic, specular, roughness, emissive color, normal map, which is bumps, and all ambient occlusion, which is all kinds of different shadow stuff. So if you're a 3D artist, if you're working in a program like Substance or ZBrush or something like that, when you make a material, you export those materials. It's going to export a good bit of these maps. Then you bring them in here and you plug them in, and they have different material effects, whether that's shine or bump or glow or whatever, okay? And I believe that when we exported that gun's materials from the web, it had a normal map and a specular on it, which it does. So go ahead and open up a file folder and go to that directory. It should look like this. You should have the 4 materials in there.
There's also a weird pie thing.
Yeah, I don't know what that. I don't know.
I think that's the creators.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the bowl of chili.
Could be.
All right, and the 2 materials we're going to pull into that gun directory, I'm sorry, the gun folder in Unreal, are the handgun N and the handgun S. Okay, and the way you do that is go back to your content directory, and you're just going to select them and drag and drop them right in. Drag and drop them right in from the folder. Drag and drop. They go right in, just like this. Now, Unreal takes multiple different texture types. It can take PNGs, it can take JPEGs, okay? I think it can take some other stuff too, but if you just focus on PNGs and JPEGs, you'll be good. And you can convert any image to another format in Photoshop very easily. Alright, so now that we got these in here, alright, so you'll have where did that go? Really? Alright, so I want you to have 2 tabs open like this. Okay, your material tab and then the content directory. So you have 2 windows open. And what you're going to do is you're going to drag these 2 textures into your material view here like this. You're going to drag the 2 textures into the material view just like this. You drag them from here into here. Okay, I have 2 windows open here. See that? So again, I've got my content view open here. I've got my handgun S and my handgun N. I'm going to drag them into the material graph. See how I did that? Everybody with me? Go ahead and do that, please. Now, when I look at this gun in the mesh view here, I notice that it doesn't really have any bumps on it, and it's not shiny. What we're about to do is add some bumps and make it shiny, okay? And what we do is, on the right side here, you want to connect your RGB of the let's just do the purple one here. Connect that to normal. Connect RGB of the purple one to normal, and then connect RGB of the other one to specular. So you just drag and connect them. So the purple one goes, the RGB of the purple one goes to normal, and the RGB of the other one goes to specular. So when you're done, go ahead and click Save. And it'll take a second to apply the changes. And then when you open up your gun now and take a look at it, you'll see that it's got some changes to it. And it's kind of small, so I can't get in super close on it, but definitely is an improvement. So that's how you edit materials and add different maps and things in Unreal. And those changes get applied in game. And you can also apply multiple ones. Yep. All right, any questions on that?